Hello, everyone, and welcome to this special edition of Community Social Justice. We are going to talk about bridging the housing gap. I'm your host, DeShannon. But listen, before we get started, I want you to share this with anybody who's thinking about housing. Housing is on your mind. You want to talk about home ownership? What about renting versus buying? What's the difference? What do I need? Where do I get started? If you have any of those questions, you know someone who's asking those same questions, go ahead and share this now. I'm going to give you a few minutes. Go ahead and do it now, though, because you don't want to miss a second of this show. It's going in two parts, guys. Part 1 and part 2. So we got about a 2-hour show today, but don't let that deter you, because everything we're getting ready to tell you is exactly what you need to be informed. Now, if you've been with us for a long time, you know Community Social Justice is getting ready to celebrate a birthday coming up soon. We are almost at our 1-year mark. We were birthed out of necessity. When the pandemic hit, we needed a way to still get in touch with people, giving them the information about housing, about education, about financial literacy, employment. We've talked about some really heavy things: religion, racism, police brutality. Listen, we talk about the election. We talk about the things that you're talking about at home, on your job, in your living room, and with the people that's closest to you. But we don't want you just to rely on the news channels, people that may or may not be biased. We want to vet our guests. We want to give them the opportunity to get in touch with you, the people that they serve. Now, if you know, hey, me, I hadn't even been in Atlanta 2 years yet, so I needed to know what was going on in my community. Community Social Justice, this platform has done just that. I know who my leaders are. I know who represents me. I know who my school superintendents are, what they're planning to do with my school-age child. This platform is well-rounded, giving you exactly what you need. Now, let me tell you, we don't always have guests that we agree with. This is not what this is about. This isn't about having people around you that always say yes to your agenda. This is about giving you the right information so that you can make an informed decision. This is what Community Social Justice is all about. We're going to shout out a couple of people while you're logging on, getting ready to share it. Shout out to our leader, Pastor Melvin Smith. Mel Smith, if you know that guy, if you see that guy, give him a fist bump, because he's not going to hug you during this COVID times. But he is excited about bringing us information we can use. Minister Eva is his right-hand man. Shout her out that she is doing a phenomenal job. I just get to host every now and then. But today, we are talking about bridging the housing gap. We hear affordable housing, but what's affordable? Affordable to who? What does it take? Where do I need to go? What's happening? Am I really, what should I be doing to prepare myself to live better, in better environments, better school districts, I want the best for my family, just like you want the best for yours. So we're going to get started. But again, go ahead and share this now. Share this now. Let people know that Community Social Justice is on, talking about how to bridge the housing gap. Again, my name is DeShannon, and I'm your host for this first half, but I've got an exciting lineup. My first guest is no stranger to Community Social Justice at all. He's been with us. He's been talking about issues that matter to his community, that translates to matter to all of us. It is Commissioner Larry Johnson.
Hey, Minister DeShannon, how you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm doing well. So
Beautiful,
people that
beautiful.
may or may not know you, let them know who you are.
Well, I'm Commissioner Larry Johnson. I've been serving long before I was an elected official. I started at 18 as a community organizer, and now I've jumped forward and worked for former President Jimmy Carter, and now served at the DeKalb County Board of Health. I have a master's in public health, and I've been serving since 2003. And I focus a lot on economics, wellness, and just try to empower the community. And so through your process, I'm glad I'm connected to you in a way that allows me to just spread the wealth, and information is power.
Awesome. Now, y'all know Commissioner Johnson plays no games. He is here to give you information that you can use, that you can make informed decisions about what's going on in your community. But he's not my only guest today, guys. I want to bring on Miss Kelly. Come on, Miss Kelly. Say hello.
Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. How's everybody doing?
Hey, all right.
Glad to be here with you
Tell us
guys.
about yourself. Tell us who you are and what you represent.
Definitely. My name is Sharon Kelly. I currently am a senior loan officer with Citizens Trust Bank. Everybody knows who we are. Shout out. Celebrating 100 years this year in business. Fantastic. For those of you who did not know that, I come from a long career in community and economic development, financial lending on the consumer side, the housing side. I even did a stint in the federal government with the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, where I served as a regional administrator. So housing is my game, it's my fame, and I love it.
Awesome.
Thank you. Glad to be here, guys.
No problem. But okay, so y'all see what we're doing here. We got the commissioner. We got somebody whose passion is housing. We're going to get you the information you need to move from whatever level you're trying to move into. But that's not it, guys. I want you to meet Miss Holmes.
Hello, hello. Good morning. Happy Saturday, everyone.
Saturday.
Hello, Miss Holmes. Could you just let people know who you are and what you represent?
Absolutely. So my name is Rakia Holmes. I am a realtor. I am an entrepreneur. I've been in business over 20 years in real estate. I've done real estate investing. I've owned franchises. We have a tax and accounting business as well. And I just love helping people, first of all. And when it comes to real estate, I want to help others achieve their real estate goal, whatever that may be. So happy to be here.
Awesome. Okay. So y'all see what kind of show we're having. If you're just sitting here and have not hit that share button, you already know your cousin, mama, sister, Ray, them, they want to know how to get out of where they are into something different. Share this. Don't keep information to yourself. We're not territorial with information, guys. We want everybody to be well informed. So with saying that, come on, Miss Munford.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for having me.
Morning.
Did you tell us a little bit about who you are and what you represent?
Absolutely. Well, my name is Yolanda Munford. I am the Assistant Vice President with Citizens Trust Bank. I am a true partner with Ms. Sharon Kelly. We work hand in hand. I've been with Citizens Trust Bank for almost 20 years. I've worked on all sides from commercial, consumer, and landed in mortgage. And I am truly passion driven. I believe in financial literacy, education for all of our consumers, and just empowering. And with that, I just, I believe that, with the education that we bring to the table, it definitely makes a difference in economic wealth. So I believe in pushing forward and helping all aspects of our consumer base.
Okay.
I'm happy to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
No problem. No problem. Welcome to everyone. But let's get right into it. So, Commissioner Johnson, you were on the show maybe a week or so ago when we were talking about homelessness. We were talking about from home ownership to homelessness, and you were hitting on some things that, maybe people don't know the state of the greater Atlanta, metro Atlanta area and the things that you're doing. So I wish you just kind of recap some of the things that you were saying so that we can get started in this conversation.
Thank you. I'll be the appetizer today. I just want to start off with that every day in Georgia, it's over 10,000 people are homeless every day in the state of Georgia. That's a very key statistic and fact that you need to know. The other fact is you got to look at the face of homeless is not what you think. I know we look at what we see on the streets and we think that's homeless, and we see an encampment or we see a tent under the bridge. But we now have people who may have a place to live, but it may not be a home. We have families in extended stay. We have children who go to school every day and may be staying with multiple families in one house or even one room. But I think it's important that we understand what is homelessness. It's about poverty. It's about financial literacy. It's about just dealing with systemic racism. It's about affordable housing. What our policies are like from a federal standpoint that allows us not to have people who can afford a house to live in. And so it's about policy. It's about understanding the face of homelessness. It's about what do we do as a community, because people are traumatized because of homelessness. If your child is living in a one room with 10 other people and they have to go to school, and the first thing they see in school is trying to be quiet because they didn't have quiet all day, and they get points based on them participating, and they don't reach out, or just different things of that nature, the trauma of homelessness. And that's why I'm glad that you all are doing this show today, Minister Deshauna, because I wanted to try to just lay the framework for what we have to do. DeKalb County started a program called Home South DeKalb in 2018. Basically, the average income of the person that's in this program is about $49,000. 70% of the people who are in this program are African Americans, and it's been phenomenal in what we do. And 45% of the people are single female headed households who are part of this program. This is a $20 million program that I think is very pivotal to our community. And we've averaging 100 homes per month. And I just want to give you that number so people can have the contact information, because I know I have to get off and won't be part of this, but I want to give that number. The contact person is Susan E. Adams. She's the Senior Director of Operations. Her phone number is 404-420-1595. 404-420-1595. And these are for folks, they help you, they coach you, they help you get on your road to having a home, but you have to go through financial literacy. It helps you with all of those basic credit management issues and focus. But I wanted to just set the atmosphere for what we're talking about, because you can't bridge the gap if the person is not ready for a house. And so a lot of folks want to walk before they crawl. But it's about, how do you manage your income? How do you start in an apartment? How do you start maybe leasing? How do you start then moving to owning a home? So I want people to know that this is a process, and I want you, it's not a it's a destination to get to a house, but I want you to know this is a journey. And so thank you. And I wanted to share those few comments with you as well.
Awesome. But Commissioner Johnson has to go, guys, but he laid the framework down. So Commissioner Johnson, we're going to say bye to you. Thank you as always, sir. So I'll see you soon.
Stir it up. Stir it up. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, lady. Commissioner Johnson told us, look how many people are homeless in Georgia. So there's somebody homeless maybe in our own neighborhood that we don't know. Because I learned the other day something that I hadn't thought about, that homelessness might mean that you're living with somebody, that you might be with your grandma or something, that you don't necessarily have a home that you can call your own. So I've got some real estate experts here. I got some loan officers. I got people that's in this game, and they want you to win. It's not that people do not want you to win, but how can you win when we don't even know how to play the game? So let's start with Sharon Kelly. What if I'm homeless? I don't even know if I want to start there. But let's just say that I am. What is some of my first steps? I might have a job, but I don't have a home of my own, possibly. Could you get me started? Who should I be contacting?
For a person that's actually homeless today, they're going to need to start with income. So they need a source of income. So that means a job and all the particulars that go along with having a job. You're going to also need education and understanding of the process and the requirements for becoming a homeowner. So two things we would put together. If they're employed, when they come to us and they're homeless, or when they go to a housing counseling agency. Those are people who are designed, that's their job, to help bring people to build that foundation that they're going to need, to give them the things that they need to understand about the process and their requirements, their basic requirements. So we want them to start getting education. That's one of the things we're really, really strong on in this process, even for people who are homeowners now, for people who've been homeowners in the past. You cannot get enough education because this is a continually evolving entity in an industry. So many changes all the time. And if people are not educated, they won't understand it. And their chances of being successful are not that great. And
Okay.
also getting the right resources is important.
Let's talk about that. Miss Munford, we're talking about education. Now, what I realize that we, meaning our community, is not financially educated like some other communities. We aren't really taught about investing. We're not really taught about saving. We're taught about looking good, spending our money on labels that may or may not be for us, but we were taught that. And I think if I go back just a little bit in history, we presented well because we felt like people would respect us. So my parents dressed up for school. I mean, they looked like they were going to church. On the ninth grade picture, my daddy had a suit and tie on, and I mean, they wore little gloves and kitten heels to school so that people would respect them. And parts of that have carried over. We will spend money to look good because we think that's a form of respect. But when we're talking about education, so Sister Kelly started us off great. But Yolanda, I want to talk about how can we educate early so that when you do have the opportunity or you feel like you're ready to start having the conversation about home ownership or leasing or anything about getting something of your own, tell us a little bit how that education process, sets us up for success.
Absolutely. Just as Miss Kelly mentioned, it is really a good idea. It is the heart of this whole process, education. So what we look back at is, if you're thinking from the very beginning, we thought about the piggy bank. We thought about saving in the very beginning in primary school. That truly is the fundamental start for where we can go as adults. So we know, like you said, looking good on the outside was something that we was taught, but now I think the mindset is changing and it's evolving where we're looking at a little bit more. Saving is truly a major piece of where you need to be focused on right now. The good thing is that with the education and the resources that are out here now, where you're teaching more and people are listening now, people are starting to understand that you need to save. You also need to budget. So looking good on the outside is great, but also now you're in a point where you need to keep an eye on your finances. So with that being said, when you do make this transition, whether it is, like you said, from homelessness or just a lack of a job to now getting full-time employment, now you need to strategically look at how you spend. You need to make sure you're focusing on your priorities, which is truly the primary bills that keep you evolving throughout your week, throughout your month, versus, like you said, shining and looking very well on the outside. You want to make sure that includes from what you're doing from the inside. So for the basic, you want to make sure saving, like we were taught in the beginning, the cute piggy bank that truly leads to a great bank account as you evolve from a childhood to an adult, as well as making sure you understand paying attention to your finances, paying attention to what you spend your money on. That's really what it means. Focusing on, okay, maybe not as much eating out, maybe not as much money goes into what is a priority, which is truly making this transition a little bit more easier and seamless for you if you're able to discipline yourself enough to make sure you focus on your spending habits. That's truly a very key piece of all of this.
Now, Yolanda done got on me about my spending habits. Now, we might not invite her back. So I'm going to go over here to Rakia here. And let's talk about something else. But my banking ladies, I'm going to get back to you. But Rakia, you told me you were a real estate agent. So you see prices. When we start talking about affordable housing, what does that really mean? And what does that look like?
Absolutely. I also wanted to piggyback off of what Yolanda said. In addition to the savings and so forth that they spoke on, also credit. Credit is not necessarily something that we are taught at a young age, or at least I wasn't. And so you wanted to make sure that you're focusing also on credit, as far as making sure you're paying stuff on time, that you're not having your credit pulled multiple times. Multiple inquiries can affect your credit score. Making sure again that everything is paid on time, and that you're just conscientious of your credit score, and what that looks like. And so that's definitely a big piece in addition to the budgeting and the savings. So as far as affordable housing, basically what can you afford, right? And that looks different for everybody. And so, typically the standard is 30% of your housing is what you want your budget to be. Anything over that, you want to be able to attribute towards transportation, towards food, towards, medical and so forth. So it really depends upon what your income is and what you can actually afford. But the standard percentage is to try not to be over 30% of your income for your housing.
Okay, so when we're talking about 30% or 3 times your income,
Mhm.
what if, I'm, making $10 an hour?
Mhm.
Is there housing affordable for me? I learned when moving to Metro Atlanta, I live smack dab in the city, 3 miles from downtown. I'm back up to the belt line, that there's no housing projects here. That went away some years ago. And so I'm just trying to figure out, what does a person making $10 to $12 an hour, where do they live? And I'm sure they're living somewhere, but what are some options for that person that doesn't include a 2-3 year waiting list, or maybe some assistance, because it might be affordable to some, but may not be affordable to others. So or is that an option at all? Or is that where people are having to find different cities to live in, or maybe moving away from things that they know and love and are familiar to? When I hear affordable, I'm literally like, okay, because I mean, some of the houses that look like they should be about 300,000 or like 600, depending on where they are. And so you're like, okay, so if I'm an aspiring homeowner, I want to own my own home, but I'm really at that, still at that $15 an hour, which is twice minimum, but still at that, is there affordable housing for me? I'm going to ask you that, Rakia, and then I'm going to bounce to Kelly and then Munford, because I want to get back to what you guys were talking about, literacy and credit and saving and all that. But is there even possibilities for somebody like me?
Absolutely, there are. There are tons of options that are available. We just all have to make sure we're doing our due diligence. It's not just going to fall in our laps. We have to make sure that we're taking advantage of the resources that are available. Google is your friend. Research affordable housing or housing options in your particular area. Connect with different people. Reach out to people like us on this platform that can help steer you in the right direction, because affordable housing, it's different for everyone. It could mean that you might need to do a weekly rental, in a house where you're just renting a room for a while. It could mean that you're, in a hotel stay where you're renting on a monthly basis. It could mean that you're renting an Airbnb on a monthly basis. So affordable housing is different for everyone, and you need to know where you are to be able to determine where you can go. So being able to speak with a mortgage professional to say, okay, hey, this is where I am. I make $15 an hour. I'm averaging this amount of hours per week. Can I qualify for something today? And then that will kind of give us an idea as to where you can start, and then to figure out, okay, where can I go? And what are the avenues that I need to take? Do I need to save more money? Do I need to work on my credit? Can someone be a co-borrower on the application for me to be able to get more housing? So it's just educating yourself, connecting yourself with the right people. But there's tons of housing options out there. So people do not need to get discouraged. It's just connecting with the right people to steer you in the right direction.
Okay, Miss Kelly, you want to piggyback off of, we've talked about a lot of stuff and we're getting back to the bank here.
Absolutely.
So go ahead.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Ricky is absolutely right. It's about having the right, knowing where the resources are and utilizing those resources. There's a simple system that United Way set up many years ago to assist the people that you were speaking of with the low income, because that means they may not qualify to purchase a home, but they still got to have housing. So United Way has what's called 611. You dial that number, they have people answering, maybe not 24 hours now because of COVID, but you can leave a message as to the kind of information you need. And as Rakia said, you can simply say, I'm homeless, I need immediate housing, I have a family, I'm a abuse situation, and letting them know, and they can direct you to those types of resources that can help you to focus on where there's housing that will fit your needs. Because again, as she said, everybody's housing need is actually different. From those who make a lot of money, from those who make very little money. They have their own needs and desires for their situations. And that's what's important to focus on. What is your actual need?
Yolanda?
Yes, ma'am. And also just being realistic with where you currently are. You really need to understand that this is the situation that you're currently in, and this is how you're going to deal with it. So just like Rakia and Miss Kelly mentioned, knowing your resources, that is truly the best avenue. Knowing how to contact or Google, as she said, to know where do you go and what situation are you really in. Someone, you like you said, that is at $15 an hour does not mean that they won't qualify for home ownership. There's means to get it done. And then to add to that, there's so many down payment assistance programs out here that will work with them based off of the income that they're currently in. That actually puts them even in a better situation. So when you're talking about someone that may be at $15 an hour, the possibilities are still there for them to attain ownership.
I love that, guys. So now we're going to eliminate some of the excuses, because everybody got an excuse for something, right?
Absolutely, right.
Got one. Okay, but I want to talk about the excuses. I might circle back to that, guys. Y'all just got to bear with me. But when Rakia said something about credit, now parents, stop putting your light bill in your 2-year-old name, because they're gonna need credit when they get older.
Yes.
Okay? Don't sign a phone up
Yes.
with little man, because when he goes try to go to college, his credit already bad.
Absolutely.
Okay? Stop doing this to us, because credit is important.
Very much.
It's not the only thing, but it is a factor. And sometimes people's credit is ruined. I had a college roommate that did not qualify for some loans because she had stuff in her name as a child. Mm-hmm. Now, y'all, we got to stop this. That's foolishness. So, help us understand. I'm going to start with you, Yolanda, about what is a credit score and how that is made up. And then I'm going to bounce to you, Sharon, to talk to you about, what are some minimum credit scores, the minimums. And then Rakia, I want you to round this up about what do you tell people that's reaching out to you that may not have looked at their credit yet. So what is credit? What are the scores? What do they look like? And then what should they do? So go ahead, Yolanda. I'm going to start with you. What is a credit score?
Yes, ma'am. So first, let me go and just kind of give you an idea of where you can start to understand, where do I get this profile from? Where do I pull this picture from? Because who would ever know at 17 what is actually on my credit? Or who will ever know at 20 what is on my credit? So we do advise going to annualcreditreport.com to get a picture of who you are. It's all based off of the Social Security number that you were given when you were born. It was assigned by the Social Security Administration. And what it does, it actually is a picture of your character spending habits. based off of you utilizing your social security number. Now, like you mentioned, mom, dad could have been utilizing the number while you were in high school. So going to these websites as annualcreditreport.com will give you an overview. It will give you your pay history, all of your open obligations that have been placed in your name, how you've been paying them, as well as an opportunity to see if these debts are actually yours. Because as you mentioned, it could be many instances where these were never any obligations for you that you own. Someone else put those in your name or utilized your information. So what it will take a look at is your pay history, if it is yours in fact, how you're paying those items on time, and what items that are there that is yours. So it gives you an overview. With that, with utilizing annual credit report, that's a very good way to keep up with it annually, to make sure that there's nothing out there that it does not truly reflect you advising or authorizing the Social Security being used to open new credit lines.
Is this going to cost me anything?
So the good thing about annualcreditreport.com, it's absolutely free one time a year. Now, there's other websites such as Credit Karma or Credit Sesame that may cost you a little money, and it may not be completely factual, but it does give you a very good overview of what items that are out there open on your credit report utilizing the social. So even though it may be a little costly just from the other two websites, it still truly is a major priority that you need to have just to keep up with what's going on with your social security number being utilized in the finance world. So it is truly a needed option.
Awesome, awesome. Okay, so Sharon, so we know this is talking about our spending habits. This is how we've paid history. There's something called the debt ratio, too, that people may not be familiar with, or things like that, or the credit score, because the credit report and the credit score are two different things. So talk to us a little bit about that score.
Okay, that score, and remember this, it's very important to always know who is pulling your credit, because every time your credit is pulled, if it is by a consumer, then it could impact your score and cause your score to drop. So first of all, you want to get that free look at your credit scores so that you can see where they are and make the assessment. And know that a lender is looking for you to come in. We're going to look at all three scores. Each reporting repository gives you a score, and that's based on what they see historically as far as your performance, the types of accounts you have, whether they're credit cards, installment debts, mortgage debt, collections, unpaid bills. They report everything that's 30 days late in a payment. And these are the things, the factors that they use to determine what your score is. So when each repository has assigned you a score, when you come to us, we're going to look at all three of those scores. It's a good idea if you have an idea what those scores look like. And I will tell you this, those scores that you see on the consumer level are not going to be the same as what we see on the lender's level. And that's because lenders' scores are determined by a different algorithm that takes a deeper dive into your credit. We go back to find out if your mother or father or grandmother actually used your social security card. We're going to find that out when we do our pool. But when you see the free pools that you get in that information, it may not go as deep. It may only be a 2-year history, but it's going to be different. And that score is going to be higher. So don't be alarmed if you sit down with a lender and they say, oh, you saw that your score was 740. But when you came to the lender, they told you your score was 680. Well, that's very true. And guess what? The lender has to use the scores that we're pulling because they're determined from a different perspective. So just know that pulling your score is important, being aware of your scores and understanding, don't let anybody pull your credit where it's going to be a hard pull. If it's a nonprofit organization or if it's you, then you're fine. But if it's an organization that you're trying to get credit, you have applied for a credit card, oh my God, the kiss of death is shopping for a new car. Oh my God, they may pull your report can be pulled as many. I've seen some 20 times from just that one visit to a car dealership because they're going to shop you with everybody trying to get that deal done. And it doesn't matter to them. But then you're going to end up with all these inquiries on your report from that one instance. And guess what? Inquiries can be the kiss of death to your credit score. because they're going to stay on that credit score now from 2 to 4 years, maybe longer. And the credit bureau, one thing they don't do a good job of is dropping off bad debt and inquiries. You have to watch your credit report yourself so that you can tell when things need to be removed, when things that are reported are not. Even your accounts, because people make mistakes. And the only way you're going to know is that, as Yolanda said, you need to be checking your credit report.
Awesome. Okay, Rakia. So I didn't even go to the bank. I heard that you sold houses. I'm coming to you because I was riding by and I saw your face on the sign and I got your number. And here we go. So I'm calling you right now, and that's all I got. I saw a house.
Absolutely. Well, you have come to the right place. Actually, I have a mortgage background. I used to work at Citizens Trust Bank. It was my first job out of college back in 2002. And so I worked in the mortgage division with Yolanda. And so I know what lenders are looking for in order to be able to pre-approve you for a home. I know that they look at the credit. I know that they look at the income. I know that they look at the assets, amongst other factors. So if someone comes to me and I am their first stop, we're going to have that conversation. I'm going to go deep. I'm going to ask the questions. Okay, what does your credit look like? You don't know? Okay, I can help you go to the place, like Yolanda mentioned, some of those resources to pull your credit report just to kind of see where you stand. We're going to talk about your income. I'm going to kind of pre-qualify them before I even send them to my lender, because I need to know what I'm working with, with my clients, and to see, are you ready now? Do we need to put you on a plan, or do we need to wait, a year or so until we can get everything in line for you to be able to be ready to purchase? So we're going to look at the credit. We're going to look at your credit score. We're going to look at, are you paying on time? We're going to look at, what trade lines do you have that are reporting? We're going to look to see, do you have any collections? Is there something that we may need to work out there? And again, we're also going to look at your income to make sure that you have been consistent with your job, to make sure that you have those pay stubs, those tax returns, the proper documentation ready and available for your lender. And then we're also going to talk about assets. Do you have money saved? Do you have a 401k account? Do you have a family member that could potentially gift you the money if your program will qualify you for that? Or are you within the income threshold to where you can qualify for a down payment assistance program? So we're going to have those conversations up front, and then I will pass that particular person on to my lender and let them take it from there so that they can really get a full picture as to where they are and determine, are we ready now, or do we need to put them on a plan to get ready?
Okay, I like a plan.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you have everything good, I think you still need a plan. So
Absolutely.
I'm going to go back and ask, we're still talking about credit a little bit, because you guys know when you're in college, they handing out credit cards like Skittles. They on the yard, everybody signing up, from clothing line, the Chase, the Capital One, everybody, you can get a credit card just by being in school.
Yes.
But now if I went to HBCU, and so we didn't even have jobs, but we had credit cards, so your credit history can start very young. That will follow you a long time. So Ken, I'm going to go back to you, Sharon, to talk about this. So let's start this conversation about the importance of credit. And then Yolanda, I want to talk about minimum scores here, and then Maria, I'm going to bounce back to you, that I think I'm ready. And now what?
Okay. If you think you're ready, credit scores are so important. Credit, period, is important to you, because this is the background and the foundation that is used to move you forward financially. If your credit coming out of the gate, because you did exactly what Deshauna just said, in college, you got the credit cards. You knew you didn't have a job to pay them, and mama and daddy said no. Well, guess what? Those credit card bills turn into collections. They're on your credit report, and they're going to follow you through life. So at some point in time, you're going to have to make some kind of adjustments to deal with those things. The best thing is not to do it, because your credit is important in everything that you do. They pull your credit for you to get life insurance, to get an apartment, to get a home, to get a car. They pull your credit for student loans, believe it or not. If your credit is not good and you're in school, and I think Rick here mentioned it earlier, that it can prevent you from getting your student loans to continue your education. So your credit is very vital to you. So how you start with that credit, think of it as this is the foundation to building my future. I'm going to have the kind of credit that I can stand on, that's going to represent who I am, because that's what credit is all about. And Yolanda mentioned it, character. How you perform is what we're looking at. That's all the credit tells us, the lender. Are you going to pay me back this money you want to borrow? And when we look at your credit history, if it has a history that you have not been performing, you got a lot of old accounts, some you don't even remember are there, then it's going to be a negative impact on where you're going, whether you go up, whether you go down, or whether you're just stuck.
Yolanda, let's talk about some minimums and what's the best. Let's give us a range here.
Yes. So minimum credit score traditionally in the mortgage industry is about 620. Now, that is a score that can get you started. That's not the lowest score that you can possibly get a mortgage with, but that is truly traditionally what the grid starts at. And it could range up to about 850. However, so when you start at a 620 and we say yes, at a 620, you may qualify. Let's put in perspective what that may mean as well. So if you're on the lower end of the credit score scale, that could mean that ultimately you may pay a little bit more in your mortgage financing. What that means is you may get a little bit higher interest rate. So even though we say traditionally 620 is the credit score minimum requirement, you want to try to be on the more higher end scale so you pay less in your mortgage over the life of the loan. The better the interest rate, the lower the monthly payment will be for you, the more affordable it will end up being, and also meaning you may be able to afford to buy a little bit more home. So you want to focus on, like Sharon said, making sure that you do make the payments on time, because that will be a factor in where the score lands. And so if we start you out at a 620 and you think that is the beginning and I'm ready to go, maybe not, because it may not fit the budget that you're trying to stay within. Continuing to pay your items on time, keep your trade lines current, no collection, get your scores up to ultimately getting to a better interest rate, which would keep your monthly payment more affordable and within the budget that you set. So it is a good opportunity to say 620 is the start, but you want to be just a little bit higher just to keep things a little bit more affordable for you.
Okay, Rakia, I'll round the circle out with you. Okay, the process. Shout out to my nephew. I hope he's watching. I keep just trying to prompt him, just go see. Sometimes you don't just go see, because they'll tell you whatever that is, that you may not need to do anything, but getting people to just go see. Have you found that to be, an obstacle with anybody you're dealing with or anybody you may know? I just want you to just talk to someone. So tell me, your experience with that, or what should somebody do that just, hey, I don't even know where to start.
Absolutely. Well, people have, hesitancy. Some people are intimidated by the home buying process. But, it doesn't hurt you to have a conversation. And, us as professionals in real estate, we want to help you. So yes, I've had those people that may have been a little bit timid, but I talk to them. We talk about their real estate goals and what it's going to take for them to achieve those goals. So speaking with me, speaking with mortgage lenders, that is the starting point to figure out exactly where you are. It doesn't cost anything for you to speak to a mortgage lender to figure out where you are with your credit, because you could absolutely be ready now. I've had some home buyers to be surprised that, oh, wow, my credit qualifies, my income qualifies, and I have savings. I'm ready, and so we can get that process started. And then I have others when, they're not so ready. They may need to save a little bit, or we may need to work on the credit. And that's the plan that we talked about. But you absolutely need to reach out to either a realtor or mortgage professional. That is the first stop for you, because you're trusting us as the professionals to steer you in the right direction, to give you the guidance and to give you the insight to help you be able to achieve those goals. So no need to be intimidated. Connecting with the right people will help you get there.
Awesome. Okay, guys. So we done went from being completely homeless to talking about your credit, to telling us what not to do, to telling us about the minimums. If you're just joining us, this is a 2-part series, Bridging the Gap, because Commissioner Larry Johnson said there are tens of thousands of people without any type of home. And then I don't even know if we know the numbers of the amount of people renting versus that home ownership. If you ladies have that stat, please share that. But then there's people that's just not sure what to do, how to do it. We talked about the importance of credit and things like that. But, what if, I'm just throwing out some scenarios, guys. What if, hey, my credit used to be good, but now I'm kind of, life happened. Maybe a divorce, or maybe a lost job, or during these COVID times. And now I've got some collections, or I've got some late pays, but I still feel like, I have to live somewhere. So what is options out there for me? And then I'm going to start with you, Yolanda, and circle back to Rakia, and then Sharon, I want you to finish this one up. When we're talking about a plan, or checking your credit and like, oh, well, this is my stuff. This is my score. This is the period of time in my life. Talked about how can we help ourselves now, and what does that process look like? Or maybe I just have screwed it up all my life. Hey, I ain't never paid nothing on time. They can't get a blood out of a turnip. They gonna get it when I give it to them. That's, hey. But now I'm grown, and rent is high. And somebody said that I should be buying. I could get a house for what I'm paying to pay somebody else's mortgage. But my credit is not so good. I've got collections. I've got late pays. I've got maybe a repossession. I've got some things on there that I'm not proud of, but I'm doing better now. Yolanda, I done came and sat down. I'm already sad. I'm looking sad. I don't even know if you can help me. But I'm in here now. And so you done pulled up my score. You ain't saying nothing. Because you seeing it. You ain't even looked over your computer yet. And this is how I'm looking. Help me out. Go ahead, Yolanda.
So the first thing is you just don't get discouraged. So you've taken the first initial step, which was to come into the office, sit down with a professional to get yourself together. There's a thing called start over or do over. We all make mistakes. It is a human process. It's trial and error. I think Rakia mentioned it earlier that we were not taught in our community, unfortunately, about credit, about savings. We were taught to look good. So we are in a moment now, because you walked into the office to sit down at my desk, to start over. And that's what I try to tell everyone. It is okay to come in and get yourself together and get on a path. The thing you don't want to do is give up and get discouraged. So when you come in and I see that credit, like you said, has so many issues and you haven't paid a soul, what we want to do is originally put you on some type of path. So whether we send you back out to a housing counseling agency to start you up with some things to take care of these things, because sometimes people need hand holding. where they may need to get an understanding of what creditors do we start to call, what creditors do we talk about trying to pay off or settle with. How do I get these people on the phone that I need to deal with that are now affecting my credit in such a negative way? So whether we send you back out to a housing counseling agency for that assistance, or we sit down with you and put you on a path, you have to remain disciplined and focused. If you're serious about getting out of the position where you're making your landlord rich, then this is the time. So you have to make sure you do your due diligence, you stay focused. We come up with a path and a guide for you. You follow it. It's never too late. So if you're even, we've seen credit scores in the low 400s before. Even in that situation, you never know. In a year, year and a half, if you remain disciplined, you can achieve the dream of home ownership. It is never too late as long as you stay focused and believe that it can happen.
Absolutely.
Go ahead, Rakia. I'm sad. I'm still sad. She told me I could do it. She told me in a year or two, possibly 3. But she said I could do it though. So, what do you got to say to me that needs to start over?
Absolutely. It's okay to start over. Like Yolanda said, don't be discouraged. You know, we are here to help you achieve those goals to become a homeowner. And so if you stay true to that path and that plan, if you stay focused, committed, pay your stuff on time, make sure that you're saving as much as you can, pay attention to your credit, not having it being pulled, not trying to open all these different accounts that aren't necessary. You're doing the work. And by you doing the work, you will see the score increase and you will see yourself put in a better position so that when it is time, whether it is 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, you will have done the work and you will be able to achieve home ownership. You will be able to achieve that goal. So stay committed, stay focused. I, as your realtor, will stay in contact with you to make sure that you are, paying everything on time, to make sure that you are being conscientious of your credit score, to make sure that you're saving, the tax refunds and all that stuff. That could be extra money to help you during the home buying process. So if you do your part, I can guarantee you will win. We will definitely do our part and we will work together for it to be a win-win for you to become a homeowner.
Now, Sharon, so, we see my credit report. We done pulled all 3 of them. Credit Karma told me I was at least in the 5s, but you telling me I ain't. You see some stuff on there that I don't, was supposed to show up for court. Now I got some collections on it. I've got, I am in bad shape over here. Now, how do I go about correcting some of this kind of stuff? I mean, can you steer me, show me the stuff is mine. It ain't no disputing it. This is the stuff I did when I wasn't as responsible, but I don't know how long is this going to stay on my credit. Is it, if I pay it on time now for a year, do y'all still look back when I wasn't responsible? Help me to help myself. Now that I'm wanting to start over, you guys told me I could, never to give up, but now what?
Good question. It's a good thing to know that, and I tell first-time homebuyers this, I do a lot of homebuyer education classes, and my greeting to the class is, good morning, thank you for being here. Because what it says to me is that you're taking charge of your situation. You're owning up to it. And that's what it's going to take. Once you do that, then you have a mindset that, hey, I want to get this stuff cleared up. I want to get it corrected. You have a goal and a plan. So again, it goes back to what we're all saying. It's about planning, that foundation, but just knowing that you got to buy into it, because you're the one that's got to do it. So if you're thinking you're going to go sit down with a loan officer or a realtor and they're going to say hocus pocus and it's going to go away and work some magic, not happening. But if you are buying into it yourself, you're willing to do what you need to do, we can give you the guidance to do that. And sometimes that guidance has to come from, again, I'm a big proponent of housing counseling education because that's what those guys do best. And there are agencies everywhere. You can again go back, Google HUD approved housing counseling agency. They're all over the place. But those are the guys who will actually help you with that plan. We can give you a plan. And I spend a lot of time with people doing that. And then sending them to a housing counseling agency because that helps to keep them disciplined. But you gotta be disciplined. You gotta buy into wanting to correct your situation. And if you come to me, you come to Yolanda, Rikia with that attitude, I assure you, when you walk out of there, you're gonna feel like, hey, this is possible. I can do this. This is my goal because we're gonna help you to know this is where you can go. This is where you are right now. These are the hills you've got to overclimb. You've got to climb. So with that, knowing that, you're going to feel better about it. I guarantee you that look's going to turn into a smile. Let me see it. Come on. There you go. That's the way you're going to leave our office. And you're going to say, thank you so much for taking the time to help me with this. And you're going to feel all of that stuff being lifted off of you. And you're going to feel all that you got some direction, you can plan, and you got some goals. Because when you do that, you're on your way to home ownership. And as Yolanda said, home ownership can be for everybody, from homeless to home ownership.
Awesome. Okay, guys, ladies, our time is almost up. We're going to have to let the guys come in. But before we do that, I want to give each of you an opportunity to speak directly into this camera. Talk to somebody who does not know. I don't know their situation. Everybody is not ready. They could be ready. They could be getting ready. They could be thinking about it. So each of you guys have the opportunity to talk to someone different. Somebody's looking right now saying, can I? What if? Maybe. I'm not sure. So I'm going to start with Rakia, then Sharon, and then Yolanda. And then I'm going to, we're going to say a few words. And listen, guys, if y'all still hanging out with us, do not go anywhere. Do not go anywhere. We've got part 2 of this conversation because we just now scratched the surface. We can do this week after week after week after week. So get ready for part 2. But we're going to go ahead and start with our final thoughts for this part. And so, guys, get ready to do part 2. But we're going to go ahead and start.
Absolutely.
Did I say going first? Rakia, did I tell you was going first?
Yes.
Okay.
So I just want to encourage you all, the home ownership process, there are many pieces to the puzzle. It can potentially be daunting, but don't let it be discouraging. Reach out to the professionals. We are here to help you, to give you the guidance, to give you the insight, to steer you in the right direction. We want to see you win. So don't be discouraged. Reach out to us. We're here to help you. Everyone's situation is different. So you need to speak with us. We can, let you know where you are and put you on that right path to get you where you need to be. I personally can be available, whatever the situation, whether you're renting, whether you're looking to transition, we are here to help. You can reach out to me, www.soldbyrakia.com. You can reach out to me and I can help to steer you in the right direction. So pleasure to be here.
And I would just like to say to those who are out there listening to me today and you decided, hey, this is for me. I agree with you. Homeownership is for you. And I want you to know that if you take the time and the effort yourself, I am here to assist you. Citizens Trust Bank has a long history, 100 years of working in the community. Okay, so we have a long history. We understand the community. We understand you. We understand your needs, but we understand you financially because we've seen case after case and we've dealt with people, lots of people that have gone from homelessness to home ownership, those who have come from one level of home ownership to a higher level of ownership. We were around during the crash of the market. We helped so many people stay in their homes. We helped so many people obtain homes. So finding good help is what you need to do. Think of this as building a resource team because today you've met 2 powerful lenders who know what they're doing. You've met a realtor who's been in the industry on both sides, who knows what she's doing. So we are resources for you. I speak for all of us because that's who we are. This is what we do. We're here to help you. And thank you for having me today. It's been my pleasure being here. You can tell how much I'm enjoying this. I really am. Have a great day, guys.
And I would just like to close it out and say, if we have to think about anything, we should think about 2020 taught us all some valuable lessons. It taught us that no day is promised, and why wait and put off something for tomorrow that we should be doing today. So we know if we've been ever thinking about home ownership, if we've ever thought about just getting financially stable, this is the time. We no longer need to procrastinate and wait, because COVID has made it very clear that in the blink of an eye, all lives could change. So while you're here, do exactly what you want to do. Put it in your heart to say, today I will make a change. I am going to get a little bit stronger on my finance side, as well as my emotional side, my physical side, because that's all they preach about with COVID. So financial should be priority, just like everything else. Make it a habit as of today. I am going to take the initiative. I am going to do all I can to become a stronger person for myself, empower myself, for my family, and so we can start building generational wealth together. So let COVID be the lead and the reason why, if nothing else, why you make this change. Financial opportunities are here for you to actually improve your situation in transitioning from homelessness to homeownership. It is not something that cannot be done. It is for you to do. You just have to be focused, disciplined, and committed to what you say you're going to do. It is available for anyone if you put the work in. So it is possible. I am Yolanda. You can always reach me at ctbconnect.com. I would love to help anyone that has any questions. I thank you, Deshauna, for having me on the show today. It has been a pleasure. Please have me again anytime.
Okay, guys, this is going to conclude part one. We started talking about homelessness and the tens of thousands of people. We've given you the process, how to start. We talked about credit a little bit. We talked about how to kind of clean up some of that stuff. But most importantly, we learned that we can do this. It doesn't matter what situation you're in today, with the right team, the right plan, you can move right out of your current situation into the situation that you always dreamed of. We're going to help you with the resources to get anything that you want done, done. This is COVID, but it isn't the end. If you're alive, that means there is more for you yet to do. I want to thank Sharon Kelly, Rakia Holmes, Yolanda Montfort. They know, listen, they didn't know before, but they know I like to have fun and we're going to laugh and all of that good stuff. But we're going to say goodbye to the ladies. Thank you guys for everything. And we'll be back in touch, and we're going to transition for a minute, and then we're going to bring the guys on. So thank you, ladies.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, if you're just joining us today, this is Community Social Justice. Now, if you've been with us for a while, you know we have some heavy hitting topics. We've talked about abuse, domestic violence. We talked about racism and religion, police brutality, voting suppression. But we also have given you some information on how to live your better life. That everything that you've gone through was to prepare you for today. Today is no different. We started the conversation 2 weeks ago about from homelessness to home ownership. And today we just wrapped up part one about bridging the gap to home ownership. We talked a little bit about the process, what you need, how can you get started, but that was just part one. Stay with us. Share this now. Don't miss this. Bookmark it to go back. Listen to the resources that you gave us. And now I'm going to move out of the way. I'm going to bring in a friend of mine, Mr. Quentin Snow. Hey,
Hello, Shannon. How are you?
I'm doing well. So listen, I'm going to get out the way and let you have it. But first, let the people know who you are and some of the things you've got going on.
Well, I'm a realtor with Coldwell Banker Realty. I have been enjoying this whole real estate field. It is a great opportunity for people to have home ownership. It's a great opportunity for those to build wealth. And it's a great opportunity to pass that wealth on to future generations. So I'm very excited about this conversation. It's a very needed conversation, and we're going to push the conversation forward.
Awesome. Okay. So you know what, guys? I'm out of here. I'm in the background. Quentin is going to talk to you guys for a few minutes and then bring on some exciting guests. If you're just joining us, go ahead and share this now. You do not want to miss this. We are giving you information that you can actually use, start using today. So I'm out of here, guys. Quentin, take it away.
Thank you, DeShannon. Well, everyone, the group earlier was a powerful group of ladies, and they talked about various aspects of this home ownership process, which is, where do you start? How do we educate ourselves? What is affordable housing? What do our credit scores need to be as far as getting into a home? They covered a vast amount of topics. What's the process of home ownership? And we would just like to go ahead and move the conversation forward into what happens once we get to that process of, okay, I'm approved. Where do I go from here? There are a number of things that happen. There are a number of individuals that are involved with the process. So we want to talk about those things, and we want to talk about all the aspects that go into getting into the process of finding a home and what happens once you do find that home. So I have a number of individuals that are with me today. First, I'd like to introduce Darren Tompkins.
Hey, good morning. Good morning.
How are you, Darren?
Doing great. How about yourself?
I am doing well. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Darren.
Well, good morning. My name is Darren Tompkins. I'm actually a state certified residential real estate appraiser. I'm also a licensed real estate agent, and I also hold an appraiser 3, commercial appraiser 3 certification under the Department of Revenue for tax ad valorem purposes. Was able to spend a little time with Clayton County Tax Assessor's Office doing some assessments. But first and foremost, I'd like to thank the ladies for their first segment, and I thank you for that knowledge. Indeed, it's good to have knowledge, but that proper application of knowledge is what actually produces power. So we thank them for that knowledge. I want to thank Community Social Justice Atlanta for having me on today and giving me the opportunity to share. I'm excited about this segment, and I'm looking forward to it.
That's awesome. You have a lot of experience, it sounds like.
A little bit.
We also have with us today Melvin Phillips.
How you doing? Thank you so much for having me, Quentin.
Doing well. How you doing, Melvin?
I'm doing very, very good. Very good.
Tell us a little bit about yourself, sir.
Well, my name is Melvin Phillips, and I am a licensed real estate agent with Solid Source Realty. And I also own my own business as the Mail Run Group, which is a construction company. And then my sister and my brother-in-law, Kevin Phillips and William Flippin, we are the team that owns Flip Smart Property Solutions, which is a real estate investment company as well. Thank you.
Awesome. Glad to have you. We also have with us today Chris Stewart. Hello, Chris. How are you today?
Excellent. Yourself?
I am doing well. Tell us a little bit about yourself, sir.
Okay. Thank you first for having me this morning. My name is Christopher Stewart. I'm the owner of Stone Oak Mortgage. I've been in the industry as a loan officer for roughly 20 years. Wow, 20 years. Yes. In 20 years, still enjoying the act of helping individuals to become knowledgeable, to make the best decisions for themselves into the decision of becoming a homeowner or selling that home, or just to simply provide some guidance and insight to those who are in need of getting additional information. As Darren said earlier, the information is just information, especially in today's world. It's the action that you take after it that changes your life.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I do agree with that. Well, we have as you can see, everyone, we have a vast array of individuals in all aspects of this mortgage process, from appraisal to actually getting your home to actually financing. So let's dive right in. The ladies gave us a lot of information as far as getting into your home, getting approved for your home, and getting the ready to say, all right, I'm ready to buy. So let's get into this process of actually buying the property. There are a number of individuals that are in this process, and let's talk about some of those individuals that may be that will be actually a part of your process of getting a home, whether it's a real estate agent, whether it's a lender, whether it's an appraiser, or whether it is someone who is coming to inspect your home. Now, Darren, you talked about your being an appraiser. Can you tell us a little more about what that entails?
Well, as an appraiser, our primary focus, Brother Q, is to actually promote public trust. You know, as an appraiser, we're kind of the eyes and the ears for our client, which is the lender. And then, of course, the lender's client, which is the buyer. So essentially, as an appraiser, what we're doing is we're assuring the lender as well as the buyer that they're actually making a sound investment in their property. We're actually confirming that the current value, the current market value of the property is accurate. As an appraiser, it's a detailed process. A lot of people don't know how detailed the process is. They kind of see the appraisal and they look at that final value and they say, that's it. But it's a lot of things that go into deriving that value. And I'm sure we'll probably get into it a little later.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. So when we're going through and we've gotten approved for the home, and we're ready to find that home for us. Melvin, you are a real estate agent, you're a realtor. What would you do to help someone that says, okay, I'm approved and I'm ready to find that home? What are the next steps?
Well, first thing is just having the understanding of what the customer wants. A lot of times as real estate agents, we can find houses for pretty much anybody, but just really diving deep to get the full understanding of what the customer and client base needs. Whether it's going to be school districts for their younger kids that are coming up, whether they want to be close to work. These are all hot buttons that we need to uncover, and we need to have a fact-finding time with that client. So sitting down in a setting like this via Zoom right now, since it's COVID-19, is good. And as things lift up, then we can come into the home and actually talk to the clients. I definitely like coming into the homes and talking to the clients because I see how they live and what they chose to live in, as well as what they're looking for. So you can get a lot of information once you go to a client on that first time visit and just fact find.
And that's an important piece of, like you were saying, being able to see what the client has to know what their likes are. Mr. Stewart, if you could talk about, if we're going into getting a home, how important is it for us to understand what we want as far as our next home?
Well, a large part of that equation, as far as what they want, is going to be that conversation, as Melvin just said a while ago, that the real estate agent is going to have. A majority part of my job is not necessarily about what they want, but more in terms of what they can afford and also what they want that payment to be, right? Oftentimes, and I'm sure we've all seen it, what the customer wants, right, as far as the home and the size of it and where they want it to be located, and what they want that payment to be never coincides, right? So I almost never ask the customer, what is it that they want? My question is always, what is it that you'd like to keep your payment at comfortably, right? And then we see, does that payment, right, match into where they like to live or how big that home is going to be? And almost 99% of the time, it never matches. So I'm doing the opposite in reference to what Melvin is doing as far as what they might want. I'm asking more of where are they financially at? Right? Because the last thing we want to do is have them looking at something that they want, but their finances doesn't afford that, or nor is that where they want to be. So I'm kind of doing the opposite, Quentin. Instead of the one thing, I'm going in more of what are the needs and where are the financial, where do you stand financially?
And in looking at the finances that someone may have, I know the lady spoke about it earlier as far as things that you need, as far as credit scores and things of that nature. If I'm coming to you and I say, I would like to purchase a home, what are the first things that you would like to have from me in order to start that process?
Excellent. So I have what I call my 3 whys, right? So once I find out why is it that they're looking to purchase the home, because ultimately, right, each family or each individual, they have different whys, as Melvin mentioned earlier, right? It might be school district, might be space. It might be that I lost my last home. It might be families getting larger. Parents are moving in. Once I go through my 3 W's, right? Why, when, and where. And now I have an idea of, what is it that's important to this family? The next 3 things that we go over, and we make a joke out of it because Earlier, the lady spoke about how daunting purchasing a home can be or be considered. So my job, right, is to make it as simple as possible. So I tell them that going in, whatever you don't know, we're here to help you understand it and to simplify the process for you. So those three things have been simplified in my office, and everyone asks the same question so we can truly listen to the customer's answer. Here are the three questions. First, right, is we tell them that please remember this acronym, Quentin, the letters CIA. Like the federal government, nope, nothing to do with your federal government. Credit, income, assets. That's all it's composed of, right? We go into the credit, asking them some questions about the credit. The more they understand their credit already, the more work they probably would have done. If somebody says no idea what my credit score is, that might, not definitely, but that might be someone that we might need to provide additional insight. So credit, income, right? What's your current income situation? Are you self-employed? Are you a W-2 employee, right? Are you 1099? What exactly is your situation, right? Oh, I just started a new job recently. What impact will that have? Or I just started a second job recently. What impact would that have? And then lastly, assets, right? Do you have the monies that would be needed for your down payment? Can you get down payment? No one ever speaks about that. You have to qualify for down payment assistance. You don't just get it because you're a first-time home buyer. So a lot of times individuals are not being provided with the entire information to be able to say, okay, that's not an option for me. I might not be saving any of my money, but I make too much money to get down payment assistance. Is a very can be a reality for a lot of people. So credit, income, assets, right? CIA, that's all it's composed of. So now they're a little bit, okay, 3 letters, I can handle that. So now we've kind of, let them ease into the situation. So those are the 3 things that every loan is composed of.
That is great. Wonderful information. Now, you were speaking of down payment. What's the typical down payment that's needed to purchase a home?
Excellent. So there's nothing typical about any home purchase, right? Right, because it depends on the loan type you're doing, right? It's kind of like someone says, what's the typical credit score that's required? Again, depending on the loan type you're doing, right? There are investors that will give you a loan without a credit score, right? Because they'll do what they call alternative trade lines. So going back to a typical down payment, if you're a veteran, you might have to put down 0, but you can get a 100% loan, right? So there are those loans. There are other investors, depending on where you're purchasing, there are down payment assistance programs. So let's take that out of the equation. For an FHA loan, right? 3.5% of the purchase price is typically the minimum amount you'd have to put down. For a conventional loan, another type of loan, okay, you might be looking, if you're a first-time home buyer and your income qualifies, at about 3%, right? If you've purchased a home before, 5%. Then there's this loan that no one ever speaks about. It's called a USDA loan, that you can get 100% loan, but you have to be in the outskirts. You might not necessarily be able to be in the city, right? But the home will give you 100% purchase. Again, there are there are income qualifications that are required, and you can't make over a certain amount to qualify for several of those loans. But there are options out there, right? So definitely, depending on what that person's situation is, I always like to mention that VA loan, because a lot of our veterans don't get the guidance and insight that they need to truly use their VA loan. And it's truly one of the best loans out there. And it's 100% loan.
Awesome. That's great information. I think that in terms of actually having your down payment ready and available and getting to the point of knowing that, okay, I need to have my credit in order, my down payment together, I'm sure that helps you in the financing process when you get ready to sit down with someone to finance. Now, after that process happens and you are approved, now we move into the finding a home piece. And finding a home is something that a real estate agent can help you with. And getting what you need, where you need it, as best as possible with the amount that you're approved for. In doing that process, what do you think is the best avenue to approach it as far as knowing what I'm making and comparing that to what I'm trying to get? What do you think the best option is as far as what I should tell my real estate agent to make that happen?
Is that still for me?
No, that's for Melvin.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely. You want to make sure that you are in line with that. That 33% is what definitely be looking at and moving forward. So I always try to make sure that my clients have enough money coming in that can cover whatever they need to, as far as any kind of emergencies that may come up, but just day-to-day living. And then making sure that we're right up under that so that they can have savings as well. You don't want to overextend yourself and what they say be house poor, where you're staying in the house and you can't go anywhere else, go on vacations and things of that nature. And we all see the nice house with the coffered ceilings and, the full-side brick and 3-car garage that we would like, but sometimes that's not theoretically what we technically need or should have at that time. It's a stepping stone. And I tell all my clients, just make sure that we're having realistic conversations if it's a spouse or a couple that's together, and making sure that we check all the boxes. We know what we want and we know what we need, but how can I get the most wants and get some of the needs? I may get the most needs and get some of the wants, excuse me.
Right. In terms of home availability now, in this current market, we have a lot of homes that are not currently on the market that normally are. Darren, from your perspective, how do you see the market today as far as in a home buyer's perspective?
Wow, we are in an incredible market right now. I want to say that Remax put out a report on last week saying that the median home sale price for new home sales is approximately a little bit over $300,000. That's a tremendous start for median home buyers, So in this market today, it's a lot of trends that's going on. It's a lot of things that's driving the market. From the new home sales market. The new home sales market drives the resale market, which drives the rental rates, which actually going to drive your tax rates. So in this market, I mean, the affordable homes, I want to be honest, I think it's a challenge. Because of the price of the homes and the median sales price of the homes. It's a lot that individuals have to do. And again, I want to thank the ladies because there's a lot of preparation that goes into it. And that credit is the key, and getting right in position, your credit, your debt, your income, all of that. Those are big factors in dealing with affordable houses. But in this market, y'all, I'm seeing a lot of properties selling for far above actually the list price, the market price. And just to jump into that real quickly, because I already know the question is going to come up because they're going to beat up the appraiser. But as an appraiser, our responsibility is to provide a fair market value of the property. What we're seeing now is prices are going for what's known as the fair market price or the contract price. And what that fair market price or the contract price is actually the price that a ready, willing, and able buyer is willing to pay for the property. So you can have a property listed for $300,000, and you could have a buyer make an offer of $325,000, and undoubtedly, with no animosity, no nothing against them, that property is worth $325,000 to that buyer. So I can't argue with them in that respect. But as an appraiser, we're bound to providing a fair market value. So we're doing an assessment based on what typical buyers and sellers are paying for that type of property, not just that one individual buyer. That one individual buyer paying $325,000. At the end of the day, if that's a $325,000 cash offer, the appraisal is mute. You don't even need an appraisal. That's why I say that's what that property is actually worth. But we have to have, as appraisers, the market data to support those values. And when the data is not there, we're actually bound by historical data. We use comparable sales to come up with our values. That's what's driving the market right now, and that's actually a challenge. I know there's actually a clause that they just put out, an appraisal gap clause, where now they're actually making buyers responsible for covering that gap if the property appraises for below the actual sales price or the offer price. Then they're making the buyers to make up that difference. So it's definitely a challenging market out there today. I'm gonna be honest, but where there's a will, there's a way. I don't want to discourage anybody. What is for you is for you. So I just want to continue to keep everybody encouraged, but know that there are some challenges in this market today.
Understandably. Thank you for that information. There are a number of individuals, I'm sure, who are trying to get into the affordable housing piece. And in your example, you spoke of a $300,000 home, which is affordable to a lot of individuals, but may not be affordable to some. In this instance, in talking about affordable housing, with the market going up so much from previous years, what do you think are some things, Darren, that or places that individuals may be able to find homes that may not be as expensive in this type of market?
Like what Christopher mentioned earlier, you may have to extend your search parameters. You may have to kind of be out in the boondocks, so to speak. You may have to search. You may not be close proximity to maybe the city or the Atlanta metro area. You may have to look out into South Georgia, West Georgia, North Georgia. You have to be open to those areas because those areas are still developing. So the prices may not be as high, and those areas are not in such high demand. So you may stand a better chance of finding affordable houses out in those areas.
We did have a question for someone real quick. Do we know the reason behind having to fill the gap between what the home appraises for and what the offer may be?
Well, actually, when a realtor actually lists the property, a realtor does their due diligence. They do a comparative market analysis, a CMA. They do a broker's price opinion, BPO, and they're going to come up with an accurate or somewhat accurate list price for the property. The challenge is the market is so competitive today that people are willing to offer 10, 15, 20% above the actual list price. And I could almost guarantee you that when that realtor, as a realtor, when we do those CMAs and the BPOs, we're going to be using the same information that an actual appraisal would use to complete the appraisal. So nothing will change in that respect. There are some tools that we can use in the appraisal process. We have what's known as the Fannie Mae market conditions. It's a 1004 MC form. And that's going to actually let us know what the current market trends are. If it's an increase in market, if it's, the days on the market, the supply on the market. And in the appraisal process, we can use that tool to kind of keep up with the changes. And we use what's known as a time adjustment because we look at the median sale price. That 1004 MC is going to go back 12 months. So it's going to break it down from the past 90 days and then 6 months, and then it's going to go from 7 to 12 months. So if we see a continual rate of increase over that time period, we can adjust the appraisal accordingly by applying a time adjustment. And that's pretty much the only recourse that the appraiser would have to kind of keep up with these values increasing. But when somebody offers 10, 20% above, again, that goes back to what I was sharing at the beginning. There's a difference between contract price, market price, and the actual fair market value. That market price, contract price is what it's worth to that particular buyer. So if that buyer wants to pay $25,000, $30,000 above the list price or the fair market value, it's not, unfortunately, it's not the appraiser's responsibility to try to cover that if the comparable sales are not available to support that.
Understood. Now, Melvin, if you have a client who may have let's say a lower approval price than what the market is bearing, what advice would you have for that person who is trying to purchase at this time?
Well, there are definitely a lot of options that we have that we can utilize. And a lot of times we try to keep those in our toolbox as far as writing letters to clients, reaching out to friends and family to see if they might know somebody that's actually looking for a house. I know the house that I live in now, we actually just went to a birthday party and the neighbor said, "Hey, I heard you all in the market looking for a house." And I was like, "Yeah, we are." And from that conversation, he was able to speak to the seller. And there you go. We have this house now. So it's a lot of times the ingenuity that you put behind what you're trying to do. Yes, there is going to be an uphill battle in this market right now. The last house that I just sold, I had 86 offers on that house. 86 offers on one house. So when you talk about how can we help to get you in this home and you have a low approval lower approval rating, it's really hard. We have right now, I would say, on average, I would say probably about 30 to 40 offers per house that I've seen. The house that I sold before this one 2 weeks ago, we had about 76 offers on that house. So being in a seller's market, it's really hard. And you have to have that ingenuity. You have to have your customers helping you just like you want to help them. And they know more people just like you know more people. And you can put that network of people together and making sure that you are putting things out there in your network of friends. And so if you're utilizing all the resources that you have, making sure that we're looking at the data, which Christopher talked about, and also Darren talked about, that's the data that's going to help us as real estate agents. But you still have to have a little bit of ingenuity on your own. You know, they say prayer without works is dead, and that's pretty much correct. We have to have everybody working on the same team in this kind of market. So we can put feelers out there from our team. I know within my real estate organization that I'm affiliated with, and then also being affiliated with different groups on Facebook and all social media platforms. They say, hey, I have a house. Do you know anybody that wants to buy this house? Because typically the houses are off the market in 2 days. If a house is on the market right now longer than 2 days, it's a problem with that house. So I would be leery of that because 9 times out of 10, there's something that's going wrong with it. But if you have a low approval, just getting back to the topic that you asked, I would definitely tell my clients to make sure that they have their network of friends and network of people in their social network, knowing that they are looking for a house so that they can help the realtor, which would be myself or one of my team members, to help them find that house.
Thank you. Now, Christopher, in the lending process of that, you're getting to an individual who is approved for, let's say, $100,000 approval. And with the housing market the way it is now, is there anything that can be done to try to get that approval amount higher for that individual so they can afford more home?
Definitely. So let's just talk about some of the aspects of the loan. So I'm going to always go back to the simplified step I mentioned earlier. It's credit, income, and asset, right? So the first thing is that we ultimately did not start out at what's the maximum amount you can qualify for, right? When someone says that, I always ask them, do you want to make maximum payments as well, right? And the answer is always no. So that initial conversation, that comfortable payment, right, doesn't mean they have to stay there. But we want to be, right, very strategic in the way that you're going about purchasing a home. You don't want to become house rich and financially poor, right? So as mentioned earlier, that you, as I think Melvin had mentioned, that you have a home, but you can't do anything else. You're living off ramen noodles. You can't travel. You can't do anything, right? You can't even afford to make your bills or pay your bills. So there's always, within our conversation, a room to potentially go up with that individual because we didn't start out at the max. Right, that's the first thing. The second thing is that that we can look at different types of loans. Maybe if you're putting down more with a conventional loan, depending on your credit score, right, you might be able to get a higher payment, or an FHA loan, right, because the loans have different requirements. For instance, an FHA loan, you might be able to go to what they call a higher debt ratio. That means that more of your money can go towards the purchasing of the home, right? So that might be an option. Another option might be that your spouse wasn't on the initial consultation that you did. You might have only wanted to put it in your name alone. Great, right? Reason, but now you might be in a situation that you can't get to where you need to be, right? So we need to get to that, as Darren mentioned, that 300,000 range, or we might be at 250. So you might be able to add a spouse. Okay, you can also add, right? Again, because what might be happening, Quentin, is that you might have income that you cannot use on the loan, right? You might be working Uber or Lyft or a side job that's, that you're 1099, so it's not being shown in your income that we're using for your approval, but it's income that you are making, right? So you might be able to add a non-occupant co-borrower. Your mom, dad, sister, brother might say, listen, Quentin, I'm willing to sign with you. I know you make the money, right? And I know you've been responsible. We know that, right? Not something that I would go in telling someone, but those are options, right? So that individual now can qualify for more, right? Not because they couldn't, but because they didn't explore those options initially. So those would be additional ways. Also, as Darren mentioned earlier, you might go outside of maybe the immediate city. right? That same home in the city, you might have taxes that's twice as much as outside the city, right? The difference in a $2,000 or $1,000 or $2,000 worth of taxes could mean the difference of $50,000 in purchase price, right? So those are other options. The last thing is, and then you look at, are you getting the best insurance? So you need to look at, are you possibly can get a better insurance quote someplace else? So you look at all those options, and then you can come back and say, okay, if we did some of these, or if we did all of these, here's how we can potentially increase the amount you can purchase. But again, starting from that base, which was what was comfortable for you. Is this still comfortable for you? Are we putting you in a situation that you're not just going to attain the home, but you're going to be able to maintain the home, right? Because if you're not, then you're setting them up for failure. And that's the last thing we want to do as professionals.
Right.
Last, I want to mention what Darren mentioned earlier, right? Very important. Just because that person wants to purchase that home for $20,000 above the purchase price, as a lender, we're still only going to give you what Darren came back with as the appraised value. Our loan will still be based off of what was the appraised value the appraisal gave, and that's how much you're going to get the loan for. So if it's 5%, you're going to still have to put down that 5% plus every dollar for dollar above the amount that you wanted to pay for that home. So if it's $20,000, it's your 5% plus the full amount of the $20,000. So just keeping that in mind, just because you want to go over that amount, you're not going to get approved for anything above and beyond what Darren came in as the appraised value. So that's still the base that as a lender we go from.
And if I could piggyback on that,
sure.
just to let you guys know, appraisals come back, guys. Appraisals come back maybe 6 months, 12 months, 2 years, 3 years after we complete the appraisal press. So everything that we do in the appraisal, we have to have market data to support every action that we do in the appraisal. Every adjustment that we apply, it has to be supported by market data. So I know it's a lot of people upset with appraisers right now because they're saying, oh, I done bid it, I done outbid it. Like Melvin said, I had 86 offers and I got the offer. And then now you telling me the property's not worth it. But that they come back, guys. So we have to be able to justify and explain, our actions in our appraisal.
Yes, you do. You want to be able to have something that says, this is why I came up with that number.
Exactly. And I've been there and done that. I've been doing this for 24 years and I'll be transparent. And I've had to sit before the FBI and Secret Service and explain my appraisals. But by the grace of God, I was able to walk out of that room.
You're here with us now.
And I've had other colleagues, unfortunately, that were not able to. So To God be the glory.
To God be the glory.
Yes, sir.
Christopher, you mentioned something when you were answering that question, and I want to dig deeper into that a little bit, just so everybody can understand. You talked about debt to income ratio. Let's say I have a decent credit score, but I have a high debt to income ratio. How does that affect what I can be approved for? And also, what is debt to income ratio?
Excellent. So qualify for me a little bit, Quentin. Decent credit score. What's that number mean to you?
But let's say
I have no idea what that means.
I'll go with the ladies talked about earlier. Let's say 620.
Okay, so 620 wouldn't be what a lender consider a decent credit score, right? That would be probably at the lower end of most investors, right? They'll tell you that, okay, we'll do up to a decent or the 620 score, but oftentimes if it's the minimum score and anything else is not in the perfect situation, that loan might not get approved, right? So let's say that a credit score of the 620, right? We're going to break down what does debt to income ratio mean in the simplest form as possible, right? It means simply what you have coming in compared to what you have going out. Right, that's all the debt to income ratio means. Now let's also make sure that we can also give you some clarity, right, on the excuse me, so the phone was turned off. On the debt to income ratio, right? What do they look for? They're looking at your gross income. Now I'm not sure if we all know anyone that gets paid gross, right? If you're making $60,000 a year, the number that we use in the lending institution is $5,000 a month for your income, right? Now, no one gets the 5,000. You have taxes coming out of that. You have 401k, you have Social Security, all those things that potentially is going to decrease that $5,000. So, but in the mortgage industry, just for clarity, we use your gross number. So it's that gross number, right? And they look at two different things. First, what is the amount of the mortgage payment, right? So that mortgage payment, there's what they call an upfront ratio. It's just the mortgage payment, right? Divided by the income, right? So that gives you the upfront ratio. That ratio, what lenders like to see that at is between 28 to 35%. As you've heard earlier, people saying 30% of the ratio. But the reality of it, guys, is that that's not the number that you can get approved for. I've had loans get approved at 45%, 48%. So that number can go higher. Again, based on your question you asked earlier, Quentin, like how can that go up? So it truly can go higher. A VA loan, I keep mentioning that just because they have their own guidelines, they can even go higher than that, right? So that's the first ratio. The second ratio is the mortgage that you're looking to purchase, right? With the principal and interest, the taxes, the homeowner's insurance, and any private mortgage insurance. That full payment is where that 30 to 35% is, or 28 to 35. But then they add in any additional debts you pay on monthly. This is where a lot of people get challenging situations at. Student loans. Hey, Chris, I have $100,000 of student loans. What does that mean? Well, what it means is depending on the loan you can get approved for, in this situation with a 620 credit score, Quentin, very likely that you'll be going the FHA route if you're not a veteran, right? Because the conventional guidelines, there's an automated system we put the loan in. It just doesn't like a 620 score. And if you do happen to get approved at a 620 score and you're not putting down 20%, then you're going to have this thing that's called private mortgage insurance, right? That's when anytime someone is not putting down 20%, that can be extremely high because it goes off of your credit score. So here's a quick insight. Me and you, Quentin, are purchasing the exact same home, right? The builder is building us the exact same home, exact same specs, everything else, right? I have a 620 score. You have a 720 score. We're both putting down the same 5%. My payments at a 620 score might be $200-300 more on a $300,000 loan than yours, just based off your credit score, right? Mortgage insurance is based off of the individual's credit score they bring to the table. So that is now also going to be counted in the debt to income ratio. So student loans, credit cards, anything that's going to show on your credit, that's going to count in your debt to income ratio, right? A car payment, right? A personal loan you might have taken out, right? You might have a tax bill you're paying on. That will be counted in that back end ratio. That ratio typically, again, you're going to hear 45%, but it can go up to 50 depending on the lender. And with VA, again, I want my veterans to know they have a lot more flexibility with their VA loans. I've seen that go as high as 60%, right? So that ratio is first the home, taxes, insurance, any mortgage insurance, right? Also, if you're in a subdivision, you might have HOA costs. Then all the other expenses that you might have on your credit and or taxes that might be owed that would be counted in that ratio. So with a 620 score, again, you're looking at an FHA loan upfront ratio. They probably don't want it to go past 45. So it does go a little bit higher than that 30%. The back end ratio, 55%, is really where most lenders are going to get an approval. Some lenders will tell you, bar none, I don't care if you get approved or not, we're not going to go over 45%. That's where the difference in different lenders will, one lender might say no, one lender might say yes with a higher debt ratio, Quentin. I tell people all the time, just because one person says no, please don't believe it's no. It might just be that person doesn't know how to structure the loan, or they just might not have the program you need to be able to get that loan done. Hopefully that's helpful.
Thank you for the detailed explanation of that. And also what you said at the end, because hope is not lost because someone gave you a no.
No, not at all.
It's fair to shop around with different lenders just because one person said no, you can get an approval from somewhere else. So all is not lost in that instance.
Definitely.
That's right.
A question for you, Darren. Should a homeowner periodically get their home appraised?
You don't have to. There's so many tools online that you can kind of keep up with your market value. Of course, they're not 100% accurate, but you have sites like Trulia, you have a Realtor.com, you have oh gosh, why am I not remembering this, y'all? This is the main one. Y'all help me out, man. But it's a lot of
Zillow.
home sites online that you can look at, and they can kind of give you an idea of what your value is. It's not going to be as accurate as an appraisal, but it's going to give you an idea, and you can kind of do your own research as well. You can kind of ask your neighbors. You can kind of drive around your neighborhood if you see some for sale signs, and kind of see. You can call them, and you can act like you're a buyer and just inquire. What's this house selling for? So it's a lot of tools that you can do to kind of get an idea of what your property is worth without spending that money that $300-400 for an appraisal ever so often. But yeah, you can keep yourself educated. There's enough tools online to kind of give you an idea of what your property is worth.
Thank you. There's one individual who we have not mentioned in the conversation in the home buying process, and that's an inspector. Melvin, from your experience, how does the inspector go into all of this process? How do they fit?
Well, they fit in the process. You can talk to Darren about this as well.
Yeah.
The inspector is very, very important, because they're going to find out and they're going to undercover what things that might be going on with the house that you can't see just with the common eye. Mostly when you talk about the inspector, they're looking at the electricals, they're looking at the plumbing, they're going to look at the foundation. They're going to make sure that everything is what it should be when you purchase that house, but then it also going to make sure that they protect you as well. So as a buyer, you're going into a house and you just see chandeliers and maybe a nice walk-in closet, and an inspector may see, okay, this chandelier is about to fall, and they may see that this walk-in closet, the floor is weak, the floor joist needs to be replaced. Now, that's the biggest thing that I can say in regards to that on the buyer side, but also on the seller side. Inspector might come in and say, hey, you need to fix all this stuff. So now you got to pay out of pocket as a seller to get this stuff fixed before you can sell that house. So inspectors, they definitely make sure that we're on point. It's almost like the teacher in the corner of the room that's telling you, hey guys, we got to make sure that we're playing nice and we're doing what we need to do on our end to keep this property safe for our buyers and sellers.
Yeah, absolutely. I can piggyback on that. Yeah, and just to note the difference between the appraisal inspection and the actual inspector inspection. As an appraiser, we're just making sure that the property, we're going through making sure it's structurally sound. We're making sure there's no health and safety concerns. There's no obvious physical, deferred maintenance to it. An inspector is going to do a little bit more detail, like Melvin shared. They're going to dig into the mechanical systems, the electrical, your plumbing, all of that, your heating and air. They're going to check the roof. As an appraiser, all we do is we'll peek up in the attic. We may go stand in the attic and take a snapshot, and then we back down the stairs. Crawl spaces, we just going to open the door and take a snapshot and keep it moving. But the inspector is actually going to go and crawl up under the crawl space and inspect the joists and looking for any moisture, any mold, or anything like that. So I definitely would encourage home buyers to definitely get a home inspection when purchasing a home, because they're going to uncover the hidden defects of the house.
Now, after the inspection has happened, are there any particular, let's say, no-goes as far as, I don't think we need to purchase this house based on this inspection?
I think, again, you'd be looking at those health and safety items and the structural soundness of the home, because those things that are going to take a little bit more to become curable items. Cosmetic damages, cosmetic things, carpet, paint, maybe some damage to the drywall. Those things are curable, and those are not quote unquote deal killers. But things like roof, the roof is caving in. I don't think you want to buy that house. If there's cracks in the foundation, a lot of houses may have settlement, but the inspector can determine how severe that settlement is. If it's beyond a certain criteria, then I think that you may want to pause on purchasing that house. But yeah, there's some health and safety concerns. Mold, of course, is a big one. Lead, of course, is a big one. You know, the houses, you always stand the possibility of lead in houses built prior to 1978. They use lead-based paint. So we're always looking for that as appraisers and inspectors for homes built prior to 1978. If there's any peeling paint or cracking paint, those are potential signs of lead-based paint, which would be damaging to you, could be damaging to your health. So those health and safety items are probably the major concerns that you wanna avoid when purchasing a house.
Good stuff. There's a question that came in. For those of us who are veterans, how can we leverage each of your services to switch from traditional home buying to investing in the housing market to acquire multiple homes for growth? And this one may start with you, Christopher, with
yeah,
Lenny.
I think so. So very important. The VA loan, just like an FHA loan, is for your primary residence, right? VA will not give you a second home unless we can show there are about 4 different criterias, like you're moving into a different state, that you can no longer live in the previous state because you might have been stationed someplace or a job change or something of that nature, right? So a VA loan is typically meant for your primary residence, not for investment purposes. Now, it can become that if you now had to move out and leave the state, right? And now you have to rent the home out. Same thing with an FHA loan, right? It's also meant for your primary residence. Similar situations, unless you're having to leave the state to go someplace else and you can no longer live in that state because you physically have to be now in Louisiana, right, for your job. So you no longer can live in your home if you're a nurse, right, in Georgia. Or an increase in family size or something that would, allow for you to say to this lender, hey, here's the reason, not just I want to become an investor. So let's be very clear with what a VA loan and an FHA loan is for. It is for your primary residence. Now, if you want to purchase other loans while you've gotten your VA loan with 100% and you want to use your funds that you might have saved in the purchase of your primary residence towards that, then you can. But VA is specifically for primary residence in the purchasing.
Awesome. Thank you very much. And in this process, you mentioned earlier, Christopher, about private mortgage insurance.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you hinged upon the 20%. If you don't put 20% down on the home, mm-hmm. then you are required to have that private mortgage insurance. What does that actually do to your payment?
Great question. So, and that's another benefit to our veterans, right? VA loans do not have private mortgage insurance. So not only do you get 100% of the purchase, if we're talking about, again, using that 300,000, since Darren mentioned kind of that's an average price now in the city, right? So that 300,000, you would not have any mortgage insurance, right, on that VA loan. That can be maybe $250 less in your monthly payment, right? So not only did you get 100%, so you didn't put down, right? If it's 3 times 3, so you're talking about $9,000, right? You didn't put down $9,000 because you had 100% loan. Now you're not having to pay an additional $200 and something monthly. So again, why is that VA loan so important? You've just saved $9,000 plus $250 monthly on your monthly payment. Significant over the life of that loan, right? So that private mortgage insurance, before telling you exactly what it does, I still want to go back into it. We're going to use that 620 score again, right? So I was buying a home as a conventional buyer with only putting down that 5%. Again, you might be looking at several $300, $400 if you can even get approved with a 620 score. So with a conventional loan, right, that mortgage insurance is going into the it's for truly to protect me as a lender, right? There is truly not a benefit to you as a homeowner, right? The benefit is that we're not requiring you to put down 20%. So you're paying for our insurance. It's kind of like an analogy would be like gap insurance. If something happens to this mortgage, it goes into foreclosure or something, I am as a lender protected because I might not be able to sell that home for the same amount that you purchased it for. So you're buying insurance for me to protect me as the lender, right? So the private mortgage insurance protects the lender, not you, but you're paying for it, so you don't have to put down that 20%. Very important though, with an FHA loan, even if you put down 20%, you're still going to have mortgage insurance, right? And that MI mortgage insurance that's on an FHA loan, it doesn't fall off like a conventional loan at 20%. It stays with the loan. You have upfront insurance and a monthly that you pay, right? So the FHA loan does come with a couple of different or additional insurances, an upfront plus a monthly mortgage insurance that is a part of that loan. So be very aware. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't get it. Still might be the best loan, but just be very aware it's a part of that loan as well.
Awesome. This has been a lot of information, gentlemen, a lot of great information for everyone to dig into and to use when they're getting ready to purchase their home. Let's get into some final thoughts, gentlemen, about anything you'd like to say to everyone that is listening concerning home ownership and maybe where we can contact you. Darren, I'll go with you first, then Melvin, then Christopher.
First and foremost, we want to thank again the Community Social Justice Atlanta for having us on today and having the opportunity to share in this conversation. Shout out to Pastor Mel and mentoring exceptional leaders. And I don't know if the event's still going on, but I think I'm gonna transform and put on my Mel t-shirt and go help out today. But I just want to touch on something Chris mentioned earlier. He mentioned USDA. And just to encourage you guys, you'll be surprised what area USDA covers. There's actually a map online, I believe, that shows where USDA, the boundaries are. And you'll be surprised in Clayton and Henry County. There's some areas literally just below Lovejoy Road in Lovejoy, where the whole Walmart shopping center is, that's actually covered. You only have maybe about a block or so from that's actually covered under USDA. So take advantage of that. And again, as Chris mentioned, that's 100% financing. So again, there are affordable home opportunities. Just got to know the resources and to know where to locate them. In closing, again, I like to thank you all and just know that the appraiser, we're not in it to kill the deal. But again, what we have to do is pertinent. As you guys know, when we had the crash and they had the predatory lending, the appraiser took a lot of that fall. It took a lot of that heat in that. So yes, appraisers may be a little bit conservative in this market because we remember, we have a good memory. So, and at the end of the day, when these valuations come back, the appraiser is the one who is on the hook. The realtor, as a realtor, it's a marriage and a divorce. You're married and you're constantly talking to your client and you're constantly sharing, communicating every day. And then when the house is closed, it's pretty much a divorce. You really don't talk as much, Now, me personally, myself and my wife in our real estate, we actually keep in contact with our buyers, and they become like family to us. So that's just us. But for the most part, a lot of realtors, a lot that you see that do these real big $1 million, some of them may not be as personable as we are, smaller mom and pop type realtors. So just know that, we're actually in it for you guys. So, okay. we just thank you again and everybody enjoy the rest of your day. I know it's raining outside, but the sun is shining somewhere behind those clouds.
All right. Melvin, get a quick 1 minute final thought.
Yes, final thoughts would be definitely reach out to me, Melvin, MELVINS, PHILLIPS @gmail.com for all your realtor needs. I can definitely help you out. I look forward to helping you just like I've helped everybody else as a client. I also want to say definitely be encouraged in this market because we will come out of this, and there are 86 offers now, but they won't be 86 once we come out of this, and you will find a home. So definitely be encouraged. Definitely reach out to all the resources that are out there for you. I will reach out to the Atlanta Housing Authority. I will also reach out to Operation Hope. These people are there to help you to find affordable homes and also to give you plans that can get you where you want to be. But reach out to me and I can direct you in the right path. Thank you so much.
Christopher?
First and foremost, thank you, Quentin, for helping us through this early morning. invitation first is that, gentlemen, thank you for your insight and guidance. My name is Christopher Stewart. You can reach me at stoneoakmtg.com. And I just truly want to say that if you're looking to become a homeowner, reach out to the professionals, whoever that might be. Make sure it's somebody that has your best interest at heart. And how you know that is by the questions they ask you, not what they tell you, right? Secondly, make sure that person truly has the knowledge, guidance, and insight to be able to help you to accomplish your goal, right? Because oftentimes our results is not necessarily based on what we brought to the table, but the individual we chose to work with, right? You can get one result by working with someone that might be a no, and working with someone else that might turn into a yes just because they asked you certain questions that the other person didn't. So just be assured that just because you might have heard someone said you're not qualified doesn't mean that you can't or be able to qualify for a home. Use your professionals, reach out to them, and make sure they have your best interest at heart. And for those who are listening this morning, you've taken the first step to becoming a homeowner, right? Be proactive, take the information and apply it. As Darren said earlier, it's the application that changes our lives, not the information. We're in a world that everyone can Google everything, but it doesn't change your life until you start applying it.
Well, thank you again so much, gentlemen. I appreciate your time and the information that you've given us today. I hope everyone has enjoyed this opportunity to get information about affordable housing and housing in general. We talked about a number of things today. More importantly, I'd like everyone to make sure they like the Community Social Justice page, share this page for future things that we have going on. There's always a lot of good information for everyone to use, for everyone to see. And feel free to reach out to anyone who has given their information from this talk today. Thank the ladies, thank Deshauna. This has just been a wonderful opportunity for each and every one. And I'd like to thank everyone for watching and have a wonderful